Alright, YouTube, it is Friday night, November 28th, day after Thanksgiving. And we're going to do a part 2 on this E85. I guess we'll call it a E85 assessment video. Nothing has gone wrong so far. The car sat all week. And I did start it once through the week with no problems. It wasn't a super cold day. I started it this morning. It was in the 20s this morning. It was stubborn, which is understandable because, like I said, my choke isn't hooked up. It's a manual choke, though. I ended up having to pop the hood, close the choke manually, jump the solenoid, and it fired right up. And I took it out, drove it, and it ran pretty good considering it's 20 degrees, which a couple times I noticed a little bit of hesitation. So that tells me it's still a little too lean with this fuel for cold weather, which really isn't that big of a deal. I mean, how often do I drive it in 20-degree weather? Almost never. But I'm going to go ahead and richen the jets up a little more, just because on that first day I tried it out, like I told you, the plugs had a pretty decent burn on it, but it looked like it could use a little bit more richening up, which means it will probably just have a little more power. And the more fuel you put through them, usually the more power you get. So, and like I said, this is kind of a weekend warrior or toy or a hot ride, whatever you want to call it. So I'm not going to freak out if I lose a little bit of mileage. The mileage, there's never nothing to brag about on this car anyway. Even though I did drive it all the way from Louisville to Carrollton, Kentucky a few years back with the 279 gears. It did get about 18 miles per gallon, so there you go. So I'll probably hurt some mileage, but that's okay. We're getting cheaper fuel and the car runs better and cleaner. So I'm going to show you the nice thing about older cars, how easy it is to get a carburetor off of this thing. I wish I had the camera on the other side to show you how nice it is to have these AN fittings and the braided steel lines. I don't have it running all the way under the car. One day I will. But I do like these fuel lines because it's just so easy to disconnect them and move them out of the way. Especially if you got to do something under the car. I had the wrong size wrench here. Here it is. But I use this little, this is actually a wrench that came with a cutting torch kit, but it fits these fittings, which you can't see on the other side of the carburetor. I'm not moving the tripod though. It's kind of hard to get a regular wrench on these fittings right here where it screws into the fuel bulb. With this little thin wrench to hold up nice so they don't turn on me. And I can loosen up these guys right here. So what we're going to do, like I said, I'm going to take the carburetor off, and I might as well make a video on swapping jets on a Holly. And it's also a good chance to look inside the carburetor and see if that fuel has done anything to it while sitting all week, which is only a week, so it may take, if it does anything at all, it may take longer than that. I'm sure it will. But I'm going to run it as it is and keep an eye on it and see if anything goes wrong. Like I said, I don't really have anything except maybe possibly something in the carburetor that this E85 fuel might corrode. We'll find out. And for those of you who are curious, but not sure if you want to take the risk of trying it, these videos will be good for you to see if you want to do it or not. So, this fuel just does not stink like pump gas. That's what I like. Another thing I like. Some fuel in. Now I got to take 4 stud nuts off, and I don't have my wrench ready. Here it is. Now I don't know what kind of background noise you're going to have in this video. The furnace is running right now. If it's too loud, sorry, but I just now started up the furnace. It's cold in here. It's starting to warm up nice. But it was cold in here. I'm not turning it off because that furnace feels too good. Those little thin washers, I need a magnet to get them off. Always tries to loosen all my nuts kind of in a pattern. Don't loosen them both on one side. It tends to warp your base plate of your carburetor. If you notice on the last two, I didn't loosen the first one all the way. And I just loosened this one up a little bit, then I went back and loosened it. You don't want to do one side at a time because it will warp the throttle plate or base plate, whatever you want to call it. Throttle plate, I believe, is the correct terminology for it. But it's kind of fun with that big project I've been doing on Power Stroke to get under the hood of an old Ford and instead of kind of taking a break from all that body work. But tomorrow I will resume with sanding on that bed. I won't do a video on it because there's really nothing new to show you. I just got a lot of tedious body work to do on that truck. Right, now I need to find my magnet. Somewhere, here it is. So get these little skinny flat washers off of here so I don't drop them down the intake. Shouldn't have left that wrench laying on top of the intake. You should always put your tools in a safe place away from the engine every time you're done with them, because you can forget, leave it there, and then when you go to start it, it gets down in the fan belts and causes all kinds of stupid crap to happen. Anyway, there's the carburetor already off. Ain't that quick? Gotta move the camera. Okay, here's my little poor man's coffee stand, or coffee can, which I'm using as a carburetor stand, is what I meant to say. We'll go ahead and drain the fuel. It's always easier to wait till you get it off the vehicle, which you can change jets on the vehicle. It's just a lot easier to take the carburetor off in most cases. Front isn't too bad, but the back, especially if your carburetor is really close to the firewall, can be kind of tricky, a little aggravating sometimes. Drain a nice clean can so I can save my fuel. I'm spilling a little bit of it. That's okay. Yeah, if I don't have any troubles out of this little experiment, as time goes on, it probably won't be till the summer. I may buy the good E85 metering plates, stuff like that, just to see. I'd say it'd make it run that much better because the hose already opened up for you. I could modify metering plates like the directions say on that website, and I'm sure there's a lot more information than that one. But I do, just in case, I do want to keep parts ready, just in case for some reason or another I want to go back to the regular fuel. Things keep going like they are, I won't. It just feels cheaper, the car runs better. But this would be a good, I guess, a decent how-to video for you guys who have never swapped jets in a Holly. I just had this off and it's already tight again. Hit it with something plastic. Don't beat on it with a steel hammer. Kind of break your seal. Gaskets, that didn't stick too bad. Okay, well, now let's just take a look inside. For those of you who might think that I'm making a mistake, I'm not seeing, I mean, you can't remember, this carburetor's been together for a long time too, so it is amazingly clean. I'm not sure if these are the correct floats to use with this type fuel. At least they are plastic and not the old brass kind. They say using brass in your fuel system with this fuel is a big no-no. The brass will corrode. So I read. But I forgot the name of the material, but the newer Holly carburetors all have a black, I think it's called polycarbonate or something like it. It's a black, some sort of black plastic. I forgot the exact name of it. I'd have to look it up to tell you. But that is supposed to be the floats that they use for the E85 conversion kits for these carburetors. But as of right now, I see nothing to worry about. There's a little rubber diaphragm right here. It doesn't feel like anything's going wrong, meaning that it's going soft or anything. My gasket there, I got a little tear in that, but it did that when I took it apart the first time to increase the jets. And it didn't leak, so I'm going to keep using it. But, and as I showed you in the first video, with the punch carburetor, this is not the right screwdriver. I need to screw my jets out. The screwdriver is a lot longer than it needs to be, but it fits the jet better. I'll take my 85s out of here. I'm also pushing in on that power valve spring. It doesn't feel like anything's going wrong. Just screw your jets out. And these, if you remember in the first video what I told you, originally the car had an 80 size jet. The chart on the website told me to step it up to 85s, which, like I said, got me in the ballpark, but I feel like I need to go a little richer. So now that we are a lot closer where the car runs decent, we don't want to make a huge increase. And an old drag racer a long time ago told me that when you're trying to find the right jetting, mostly for if you're testing at a drag strip, but for anything, if you're close but you want to get the best jetting you can possibly get for whatever you're trying to achieve, just go 2 sizes at a time. Don't make a huge jump. One size might make a tiny bit of difference, but 2 sizes at a time is a good way to get you kind of fine-tune it without making too big of a jump at once. So we got our jet kit right here. Get it up here where you can see it. And I took the 85s out, which I had 4 of them in this kit. I bought it extra. The kit comes with 2 of each size. So I'm going to put my 85s back in here. We're going to jump these up to 87s. And I have a hard time getting my fingers down in that little hole and picking up those tiny little jets. So I use this right here. And I don't know if you can see this very well, but do this without dropping it. This might be blurry. That's an 87 jet. I already looked at it before I started the camera up and checked it with a magnifying glass. That is an 87. Actually, I can see that without a magnifying glass, believe it or not. So we're stepping up the front 2 sizes. And all I do is screw it back in. I'm using that wrong screwdriver again. Actually, this is better for getting them started just because it wants to kind of stick to it. But the screwdriver's got a corner chipped off. I don't want to tighten it with it, but this screwdriver is a little thicker and that stays with it. And you don't want to really, as you can see, I did something you probably shouldn't do, and slip with the screwdriver and burr up your jet. Put the hose down inside of there. And you don't want to over tighten them, but you don't want to leave them loose either, of course. Because you leave them loose, a lot more fuel is going to get in there than you want. Because that hose where the fuel goes in, if you leave them loose, you got fuel going to be going in through those, seeping through the threads, and you're going to be a lot richer than you wanted it to be. So we'll just put this back on. See how fast that is? Isn't that easy? All you guys say that Holleys are junk. I don't like them. Get fuel injection. Buy an Autobot carburetor. Which Autobot carburetors, I bolted a few on some cars. None of my own, but I did for a few other people. And they're nice working carburetors. They're reliable. A lot of people just seem to think Holleys are way more temperamental. Maybe they are. I don't know. But once you get them tuned right, I've had good luck with them. Like I said, this carburetor here, remember when I did the old start on the Torino a few years back? It had been sitting for 2 years in the carburetor, and I said the carburetor has not been opened up for probably about 5 or 6 years. So, are Holleys really junk if you can do that? Which it did sit inside. Now this here, you don't want to, you got to be careful. These things are made of like a pot metal type material. And you want to snug them down to where you don't get any leaks. But you also don't want to go too crazy and strip them out. I have stripped them out and had to fix them. So there's the front. We'll repeat the process with the back, but I'm not going to film it so that hopefully I can make the video not too long. You've already seen how it's done. We'll do the back, put it on, and start it up, see how it acts. Okay, before I put it back together, I just wanted to show you. It's clean in here. Everything's looking good on the back, bro. Got a little bit of a... After it... Oops, I'm sorry. I don't even have it in the camera. Now, after it dried, I do see a little brown tarnish there. That's after it dried. I'm not sure what that's about. I didn't see it on the first one. But that's because it dried, though. It might leave a little bit of something behind when it dries. But like I said, we'll see how that folds out in the long run. But it looks good and clean in there. It doesn't look like it's doing any damage. And who knows, as old as this carburetor is, as long as it's been together, that may have already been in there. So, and if you remember, I told you I had 89s in the back. Yep. 89s. I don't know if you can see that or not. We'll try it. I'm doing a bad job of holding that in front of the lens. I know that. There you go, 89s. I don't know why I feel like I got to show you that. But I'm going to trade my 89s for 2 sizes bigger, which are 91s. And I'm going to confirm that it is a 91. Just because it was in that space don't mean it really is. I gotta get my magnifying glass out for that one. I don't remember if I inspected the 91s before I started filming. Let's take a look. I need a better magnifying glass. Yep, that's a 91. Let's look at the other one. You always want to make sure, because you can easily, in a hurry, accidentally put the wrong jet in the wrong pocket in your jet kit. Right here. So now we can screw these back in. But that's all I wanted to show you. We're running 91s. If we was running pump gas, that would be a lot of jetting for this car. I mean, this is not a race motor. It's just a mild big block. I'm running I think I'm running 93s in that 1050 Dominator in my 64 Fairlane. So if we try this E85 in the future in the race car, we're going to have to jet it in the hundreds. So we'll see how that works out. Let's get this thing together and start it up. Okay, it's now Saturday afternoon. I did not get to start it last night because I got interrupted. So I guess we're going to do a cold start. We got the fuel pump switch on. The ignition's on. I'm going to choke it. It's not super cold today, so we'll just see what happens. Not a bad cold start, remember? It's about 48 degrees in here. Been sitting all night, so it started better than it did. So I think that jetting it up seemed to help it. And yeah, we'll try that for a while. See how it does. Considering that I choked it some, I don't smell a lot of fumes back here, so I'm surprised with that much jetting. It doesn't seem to hurt it. I would go for a ride in it with the camera, but I never did make some kind of mount. Maybe that's what I should do today. Don't really feel like doing any body work today. Maybe I should tinker around with that because it looks like it's getting ready to rain. I'm going to pull the truck back inside anyway. But there you go. That'll be part 2 of the E85 fuel or flex fuel assessment, I guess you want to call it. I'm going to keep you updated on how this works out. So far, I'm liking it. It was super cold yesterday morning, and this morning I would have liked to have done a cold start then, but it didn't happen. But it definitely needs to be choked when it gets that cold, which that's what a choke is for on carburetors. So thanks to you guys who are watching, and give me the likes. Stay tuned, there'll be more.